Let's welcome Jinshan, Professor Zeng Jinshan. He comes from Xi'an Jiaotong University, and he won 2 times of best paper prize in the conference of Internet. In the conference of International Consortium of Chinese Mathematicians 2 times. The first time in 2018 and another time in 2020. So welcome Zeng Jinshan. Today his talk is about global convergence of ADMM in non-convex and non-smooth optimization. Welcome.
Hi everyone, thanks for the introduction. I'm Jinshan from Xianjiao University. It is my great honor to give a talk here. Because my spoken English is not well, so I have prepared this lecture to help myself. Sorry about this. In this talk, I will introduce our recent work on the convergence theory of ADM, a well-known optimization algorithm widely used in the field of scientific computing. This is a joint work with Dr. Yu Wang, now at 2 Sigma Investment, and Professor Tao Yin at Damo Academy. In the first part of this talk, we will first give a brief overview of the alternating direction method of multiplies, called ADM for short. In the field of scientific computing, there are a amount of applications shown later can be modeled as the following optimization problem with linear constraints. While the objective function has some splitting form, that is, the object function can be decomposed into the sum of 2 functions, each depending on a set of variables x and y. And these separable variables are coupled together through a linear constraint. In general, the object function f and g are assumed to be lower extended near-valued, no semi-continuous functions, and both functions are possibly non-convex and non-smooth. The algorithm ADM is one of the most efficient algorithms to solve about optimization problem. To develop the mathematical formulation of the algorithm ADM, we first define the augmented Lagrangian function. While beside these 2 object terms, there is an inner product term, while by introducing a multiplier vectors to reduce the difficulty of the linear constraints. And there is another projective term to change the regulator of the object of the augmented Lagrangian function. And such projective term is generally called to be the augmented term. Based on the defined augmented Lagrangian, the original linear constraint optimization problem can be roughly reformed as a minimax problem of the augmented Lagrangian. So, inspired by this, the algorithm ADM can be specifically described as follows. Given some initial guess and some appropriate parameters, we minimize the primal variable x and y in a Gaussian way by leveraging the splitting form of the object function. Specifically, we minimize one variable y keep the other in an alternating direction way and update the multiplier vector by using the do within ascent way scheme. Frequently, one or both subproblems are easy to solve. In the next, I will introduce the brief history of the ADM theory in convex settings. As the prototype of the algorithm ADM, Peachman-Radford and Douglas-Radford splitting method was proposed for solving the partial differential equations in 1950s. The formal formulation of the alternating direction method of multiplies called ADM or ADM in different for short in different literature was independent appeared in Gromitsky and Malakoff's 1975 and Mr. and Mr. 1976. The first convergent result in convex setting was established by Gomez in 1983. Meanwhile, the equivalence of ADM to some variant algorithm was shown in the literature, such as the equivalent to the two Douglas-Redford splitting measured in Gabi 1983, the equivalent to the self-do algorithm in Exton 1989 and other literature, and also the equivalent to a special proximal coordinate algorithm to a special monotone operator in 1992. That it was crucial to thoroughly address the converging issue of the algorithm ADM. Besides the above selective development in convex settings, the non-convex analysis of ADM started to appear in literature in 2014, such as Hong, Lo, and Nazavian, Wang, Cao, and Xu, and Li and Hong. For a short summary, in last 60 years, the algorithm ADM was discovered as split fragment by Goldstein and Usher in 2009 and was revived in many scientific computing applications such as the image problem comprehension, parent and distributed computing. Moreover, many new applications are found in statistical and machine learning, such as metric completion, finance, control, and decentralized optimization. Besides these problems, the algorithm ADM is generalized to solve more practical non-convex applications such as deep learning. In the second part of this talk, I will introduce some typical non-convex applications of ADM. The first application is a background extraction from videos. Specifically, give an observation B of a video. The aim of this application is to decompose the video into a low rank background L and sparse polygon S. Such problem can be mathematically formulated into this form, while there are generally three terms in the objective, while the first term is designed to embody the low rank nature of the background, and the second term is a regularization term to reflect the sparsity of polygon, and the last term is a fidelity term. The above model was originally proposed by John Wright and collaborators at the uh, at the robust principal component analysis. Yuan and Yang in 2009 and Xin Wei Zhang in 2012 applied convex ADM to efficient solve this model. And Chaplin in 2012 and Yang Peng and Xin in 2014 started to use non-convex regularization in this model. These are some results of LP minimization for the polygon S from Yang, Hong, and Xin 2014. It can be observed that the effective polygon results of the L half minimization are better than those of the L1 minimization. The second non-convex ADM application is metric completion with non-negative factors arising from the research field of image processing. The aim of this application is to recover a non-negative matrix state which approximately equals to the production of two non-negative matrices from partial observations. For such application, Xi Win and Zhang in 2012 applied algorithm ADM to solve the following model. While the first term of the objective is a fidelity that measures the reconstruction result and the choose matrix. And the second and third terms are two non-negative indicate functions of matrices U and V, which are the associated or linear matrices of X and Y. And the last constraint represents the partial observation. We show some results from the literature in Wayne and Zeng in 2010. These are some original images. These are some recorded images with different sample ratios. It can be observed that the algorithm can recover these images with high accuracy even with low sample ratios, such as 0.2 for the first image and 0.15 for the second image. This shows the effectiveness of ADM for this non-convex problem. The third ADM application is psychographic speed retriever. The psychography is a deflective image technique that constructs an object from a set of deflection patterns produced by moving probing. The probing illuminates a portion of the object at a time. This is an illustration figure of this procedure. Following this procedure, the fitness measurement Bi is taken as the amplitude of the linear observation FQIX, while X is the object and QI is an illumination matrix. To address this problem, Wang, Yang, Liu, and Martin developed the non-convex adding for the following model. While the absolute state denotes while the absolute update denotes the amplitude vector of a complex vector Z. These are the constructed result of the non-convex ADM. It can be observed from figure C that the algorithm can record the image with high accuracy. The fourth non-convex ADM applications is optimization on spherical and stable manifolds. To effectively handle the manifold constraints, Nye and Oshers developed non-convex for this problem by formulating this problem into the following form, in the standard ADM form, where nu P represents the indicated function of the manifold P. Some typical examples of the manifold P include the spherical manifold, stable manifold. These are some chromatic loss removal results from Nye and Ocean in 2010. These results also show the effectiveness of the algorithm ADM for this non-convex problem. We then show an ADM application in finance that is mean node Basel portfolio optimization. The goal of this application is to allocate a set of for expected returns, Basel regulation, and low risk. In 2013, when Peng, Liu, Bai, and Xun applied non-convex ADM to solve this problem, which can be mathematically formulated as follows. In this model, the low Basel is the Basel accord requirement calculated on certain regulated dataset R, and no Y is a risk measure, such as variance, VAR, and so on. The result by Wing and collaborators were reported better than the knowing MIPS sold by CPAX. They also show the effect of ADM for non-convex applications. Besides about 5 typical applications, there are many other applications of non-convex ADM, such as tensor factorization, compensation, differential, and so on. So far, we have shown the effectiveness of ADM for values of non-convex application. However, the convergence of ADM for these non-convex applications is still open. So in this talk, we aim to fill this gap and present some new convergence results of ADM in non-convex and post-Nonsmooth scenarios. At first, we present a simple example to show the superiority of ADM to the classical augmented language method called ALM for short. Here we consider the following optimization problem. Well, the object is a simple project function, and there are a linear constraint and a simple box constraint. The right figure is a counter of the objective function. It can be easily observed that the minimizer of this problem is 0. However, when applied the augmented language method for this optimization problem, we can selectively prove that the ALM diverges for any fixed penalty parameter beta, while the ADM can converge for any fixed beta above 1. We also conducted some numeric tests to show the divergence of ALM for this example. It can be observed that the primary variable sequence sk and yk oscillate, and the dual variable sequence wk that also that in a small amount. We also present the contours of the augmented language for beta being 2 and when y. It can be observed that the augmented language is too sensitive in the multiplier vector w. This is the main reason that caused the oscillation of the ALM for this problem. When applied augmented language method.
Yeah, just the algorithm.
Yeah. This is a more fundamental, a pioneer algorithm of automated direction method of multiply.
This is just when you solve for the minimum of x and y.
Yeah. When applied ADM to this problem, we consider the following two ADM algorithms different update orders, that is XYW and YXW. So it can be observed when the parameter beta above 1, both x and y subsequents are strongly convex. So their solutions are stable in ADM. Particularly, we present the specific update of ADM following the order XYW. Based on this update, supposing R being 1 and animating yk with minus wk, we get the following formulation, which further implies the space update of wk plus 1. According to the update of wk plus 1, if we pick beta about 2, we can do some simple analysis. We can easily show that the sequence xk, yk, wk converge geometry with finite termination. Similarly, we can also show the ADM following the order yxw converge geometrically with finite termination. We also conduct some numeric tests on finite convergence of the ADM for this simple example. We can observe that both iterations converge to a global solution in 3 steps. The above simple example stimulate us to think about why that ADM converges in this non-convex setting. Specifically, for the ADM, for the ADM following the update order XYW, we can show that yk equals to minus k for this example, and setting w being minus 1, we can easily yield a convex augmented language function and denoted as fxy. Then the ADM following the update order xyw equal to coordinate update applying to the convex function fxy, while no equals to beta of beta square minus 1. So with the convexity of fxy, we can easily yield the convergence of ADM by the classical convex analysis. Beyond the simple example and standard splitting form, we consider the following genetic model in this talk. Where the object function phi has p plus 1 blocks of values, and these values are coupled by a set of linear constraints. Here, the variable y gets its own letter because of the unique lower of yk in locking the two variable wk in our later analysis. To describe the algorithm aiming for the genetic model, we introduce the following notations and the patterns the associated augmented Lagrangian here. With these notations and augmented Lagrangian, the Gauss-Seidel ADM algorithm can be later described as follows. While the primal values xik and y are updated in the Gauss-Seidel way, and the dual value wk is updated according to the dual gradient essence spin. Here we provide an overview of analysis. In this talk, we focus on the Nonconvex and post-Nonsmooth case. In this case, loss of convexity implies that we cannot apply the field monotonicity or variation in quality-based analysis for the convergence of the proposed ADM algorithm. For the convergent analysis of the optimization algorithms, the choice of the upper function is critical. In our work, we follow the pioneer work from Lazaria in 2014 and used augmented Lagrangian as the upper function. And as our main insight, we found that the last update block Y plays an important role for the convergent analysis as shown later. We provide a simple comparison with the augmented Lagrangian method. It's knowing that for the LM, Nonsmooth is generally required the penalty parameter back tends to infinity, otherwise it may oscillate. While for ADM, if the object function phi has a form fx plus hy and the tuple hb associated block y is smooth and covering, then the image of matrix A, the subset of the associated to block Y is smooth, or of the a subset of the image of matrix B, while B is a matrix related to special block Y. Then updating Y just before the do update will prevent Nonsmooth from causing the instability. We will show this later. Here we provide our analyzed keystones. These are three major properties should be established. The first one is called the boundedness property. For this property, we should establish the boundedness of the variable sequence and lower boundedness of the augmented Lagrangian sequence. The second one is called the sufficient descent property. For this property, we should establish the lower boundedness of the one-step progress by the square difference of two successive updates. This property guarantees the sufficient descent during the update procedure, which is very crucial. The third one is called the subgradient bound property, which shows that the subgradient of augmented Lagrangian along the update sequence can be upper bounded by the difference of two successive updates. Based on these properties, we can directly provide a key proposition on the convergence of the ADM. The proposition states that if the ADM sequence satisfies the boundedness, sufficient descent, and subgradient boundary properties, then the following three claims hold. The first claim shows that the ADM sequence has at least a limit point and n limit point is station point satisfying that zero is in the subgradient of augmented longitude at this limit point. And the second claim states that the running back rate, which are defined in an ergodic meaning of these two sequences, are higher order of k. This provides the iteration complexity of this algorithm. And the third claim states that if the augmented Lagrangian function augmented Lagrangian is a critical logistic function, then ADM converges over to the limit in the sense of starting from any finite initial case. The class of critical logistic function is an important class of non-convex functions, covering many commonly used non-convex functions. Roughly speaking, a function is said to satisfy the critical logistic property at some point if its subgradient can be sharpened by some non-convex reparameterization. That, for example, so if there is a function that there is one flat in here, if this function that can be by some non-convex function, for example, phi equals q it lies in 0 and 1, and if this function in here, this can be sharpened by this one, so we just call this such kind of function is satisfy the critical logistic property. This is a simple geometric explanation. So in the following, we provide a sketch proof of the most important sufficient descent property P2. That's this one, the sufficient descent. This one. While the other two properties can be more easily derived based on P2, that boundedness can be easily divided by this property, and this one can be easily divided by the optimal condition of the problem. So we mainly focus on the proof of P2. To yield the sufficient descent property, we at first use the last block Y to control the loop block W. Specifically, combining the optimality condition of the Y subplane with the update of W yields the following equation. Yields this observation. Yields this equation. Based on this equation, and under the current assumption of image of B, we can yield the following inequality. Then the smoothness of H leads to the sufficient descent during the Y and W update. So in here, we use the last update block Y to control the ascent part caused by the do part. It was pointed out that the above claim may not true for the ALM and even ADM without conditions on H and B and HB and beta. That the tuple H is smooth, B and satisfies some Cowlin assumption, and beta is sufficient not. Then we need to establish the sufficient descent associated with X update in this part. To achieve this, we all need conditions to ensure monotonicity and sufficient descent like the following form. which can be proved by an inductor for the Gauss-Seidel update. To guarantee this inequality, some sufficient conditions are that function f has an additive form, while one function is smooth and other functions are separable non-smooth, as shown later. Here we consider an important class of non-smooth function called regular function, and generalize its later. Recall that a function satisfies the following inequality, and similar to the convex function, the regular function f is defined according to the following inequality, while there is an additional projection in the left-hand side of the inequality. While partial f is a limited subdifferential. However, such classical regular property is not satisfied by some important non-count functions which stops. For example, half regularization, which are often used in sparse optimization. To overcome this limitation, we propose a restrictive Prox regularity. Our major motivation lies in that the update points generally do not land on steep region around the shaft, which we call the exclusion set. Thus, we define the exclusion set of a Nonsmooth function f is a set of points having subweighting larger than a constant n. With this exclusion set, our restrictive property regularity defined as following. It only requires that the function f satisfies the Prox regularity out of the exclusion set. With this modification, the restrictive Prox regular class of function includes the LQ quadrilon, second Q quadrilon, and indicate function of compact smooth manifold. Based on the above analysis, we show our first main theorem as follows. We assume that object function B has such spring form. The optimization is feasible and the objective is feasible coercive. We make the following image covering assumption, and the objective and impose the regularity property of function f. Moreover, we assume that function h is Lipschitz differentiable. And xy subproblems have Lipschitz subminimization paths shown later. Based on these assumptions, we yield the subsequential convergence to a station point from any initial point. And if further the augmented London function albeit is a Codica logarithmic function, then the whole sequence converges. In the following, we show the necessity of our assumption. At first, the assumption A2 that its empty conclusion cannot be completely dropped. Some counterexamples can be found in Chen, He, Ye and Yuan 2013, while a three-block divergence example was provided. And also, we show that the assumption A4 that cannot be A4, which is the Lipschitz differentiable as y, if the object function has this spring form. The assumption A4, it also cannot be completely dropped. Otherwise, we can provide a counterexample. Here is showing as follows. For this case, ADM generates the alternating sequence plus minus 2 of beta 0, 1, so the algorithm is also diverged. Then we illustrate the Lipschitz subminimization assumption. Recall that the Y subproblem of ADM has the following general form. Let U be B times yk, then yk is also the solution of the following constraint optimization problem. We denote the solution of this constraint optimization problem as capital HU. Then the Lipschitz sub-minimization path as such implies that the sub-minimization path capital HU is Lipschitz as shown by this figure. So some sufficient conditions to guarantee this includes that the first sufficient conditions can be the smooth edge and four column length. B or the sufficient conditions that smooth and strongly convex H and more other types of conditions. Besides the spring form, we provide our measuring tool on the genetic form of the objective, where the object can be fully coupled. The main assumptions include the feasibility of problem, the image covering some condition X, Y subproblems have Lipschitz sub-minimization path, and phi is Lipschitz differentiable. Under this assumption, we yield the same converging claims as in main theorem 1. In the following, we provide comparison with existing convergence theories on non-convex or convex ADM. The first work is Hong, Law, and Yang, 2014. In their work, they also used YK to control WK, which inspires our work. Their assumptions are presented as follows. It can be observed that their assumptions are strictly stronger than ours, and their assumption is limited to the application in consensus and sharing problems, which are special cases of our ADM applications. In the work Wang, Chao, Xu, 2014, the author analyzed the Bergman ADM, which reduced to ADM with vanished Alexander term function. Their assumptions are shown as follows. It can be either observed that their assumptions are strictly stronger than ours. In particular, they require an invertible matrix B. Then, as compared to the work Li Peng 2014, their assumptions are shown as follows. It can be either observed that assumptions also strictly stronger than ours. In particular, they only focus on two block scenarios, and function H is C2 and strongly convex. Moreover, the matrix A is identity and B has 4 low rank. In the following, we provide some applications with convergence guarantees. The first application is the statistical learning. We consider the following statistical learning model where R is the regularization and Li are fitting measure or loss functions. By introducing linear values Ci, we yield the following ADM ready formulation. Following our main theorem 1, we can claim that ADM converges if the following regular conditions hold. It can be observed that the regularization includes the important LQ, quadrilang, and piecewise linear function, such as the second application is optimization of smooth manifold, which has the following optimization form. By introducing an ordinary variable y, we can yield the following ADM ready formulation. Then, following our main theorem 1, we claim that ADM converges if S is complex smooth manifold, such as sphere, Steve and Grassmann manifolds, and J is L-Lipschitz differentiable. The third application is the matrix tensor decomposition, involved in many engineering applications such as video decomposition and hyperspectral decomposition. For this case, the ADM convergence into regularization term satisfy our assumption on function f. So in the following, I will provide a short summary of my talk. In this talk, we show that ADM indeed works for many non-convex problems, and our theory indicates that ADM works better than ADM LM if the object has both smooth and non-smooth turns. And we show some new convergence results of non-convex ADM with some tight conditions, and some future directions are to future relax convergence conditions to fit more practical applications. My talk ends here. Thanks.
Any questions? Okay, I have a question. Yeah, because ADMM is very famous algorithm. So do you have any idea, any suggestion for people who use ADMM? So in applied mathematics, there are a lot of problems you can use ADMM, but sometimes it works very good, but sometimes it's not so good. There are some parameters you have to adjust.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. So, as shown in my talk, ADM has various of applications in scientific computing. So, ADM in general, for example, if your problem is relatively simple, you can use such as gradient descent and subgradient. And if your problem is very complex, such as there have some splitting form, then you can try it to solve. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I noticed that you mentioned the ADMM method for the constraint, like the spherical constraint and the stateful constraint. I'm wondering, is there any ADMM method for more general constraint, like other type of constraint problem?
Yeah. Actually, I have extend ADM for deep neural network training. That the constraint is highly non-convex, non-linear, and non-convex. The my basic idea is just to cascading the deep neural network in layer wise. The constraint is becomes the highly non-linear. Yeah. So ADM can deal with many cases that beyond the linear constraint.
Somehow case by case, you need to study the different constraints. So you have more general setup for constraint problem.
So yes, that's a good question. So in this talk, we may discuss the constraint for linear constraint, and if there are more complex constraints, there are some convergent results, but very limited. And in more cases, there you should to analyze it in case by case. Thank you.
No question, no. Very clear. So, okay, thanks again.